Welcome back to Money Matters and our discussion with Jack Garson on his book, How to Build a Business and Sell for Millions. Okay, so Jack, why don't you, again, what type of sectors or what type of businesses? It sounds like you worked with defense contractors. What else have you worked with?
Companies all over the area, you know, everything from your mom and pop pizza shop to your international defense contractor to the largest general contractor for construction projects in the D.C. area, to doctors, dentists, and lawyers. The whole range. We have a nice sized firm, Garson, Claxton, in Bethesda, Maryland, and cover quite a bit of territory.
All right, great. So if someone was to start a company today, everyone says, oh, it's, to be honest with you, I started my company almost like less than 2 years ago. And there was, the market was doing this. It was in the toilet. People were talking about
hard.
People were talking about Great Depression. People were talking, and I was like, look, I want to do this. To me, your story is really compelling to me. I was like, now's a good time to do it. You got to take the plunge. Now's a great time to take a risk. You can only go up. That was my attitude,
That's right.
So and so far it's been pretty successful. What would you say, other than being, I guess, willing to take risks? What are the characteristics, or what would someone do to build a successful business?
There are 4 key characteristics that I've observed looking at hundreds of companies succeed and fail that have distinguished them, and they are profitability, competitive edge, sustainability, and scalability. Let me give you an example of competitive edge. Worked with a guy in the 80s. He had a very successful chain of bagel stores. He was doing great. Call him Dwayne. That's not his real name. Dwayne and I became fast friends, talked on the phone several times a week. He was making a killing with a high school education, and he was very happy. A few years into this, I said, Dwayne, I've seen this before. Sell. You are at the peak.
Yes.
Sell.
Sell.
And he said, Jack, you're crazy.
Sell half.
Whatever. I said,
I
said, your profitability will attract competition. And frankly, you got no competitive edge. You got a nice smile, but you got no competitive edge. I said,
what type of business?
Bagels.
Okay, so
bagels.
Flour, water. I mean, it's not that complicated. Okay.
That's right. So I said, you're at the peak. Today, sell. He laughs me off. He actually wasn't very happy with that advice, and we didn't talk for a while. A year later, he calls me up and he goes, Jack, you were all wrong. And I said, how's that, Dwayne? He says, I didn't hit the peak for 6 more months. Since then, it's been a disaster. And we have kept in touch since then, since the mid-'80s, and virtually every single one of his stores he has put into bankruptcy or sold at a loss. And that's because companies like Einstein Bagels came in with big advertising campaign, big price competition,
big pockets, deep pockets.
Bought up corner locations and came in and cleaned his clock. Okay, he just couldn't go ahead and fight that kind of competition. Warren Buffett calls a competitive edge putting a moat around your business.
Sure.
When you are profitable, you will attract competition. Okay, Henry Ford didn't invent the automobile. He invented the application of a competitive edge, the assembly line, to the manufacture of an automobile. We don't even remember who invented the automobile because Henry Ford was so successful building cheaper ones.
I think the French said they did it. So
I think you're right.
Okay.
And so that shows you that how important a competitive edge is to staying in business after you've already established your initial profitability. So again, the 4 are profitability, consistent profitability, competitive edge, sustainability, and scalability.
Okay, so what you said, one of the things you talk about being a competition factory, what does that mean exactly?
Well, here's the thing. It's very hard to tell certain entrepreneurs, watch out for this. Some things people need to learn the hard way, and being a competition factory is a classic. Being a competition factory is when one of your employees, usually one of your best employees, not only leaves your company, but leaves your company with half your computer system and half your customers. And I've seen it happen so many times, I can almost count the progression. The first time you're hurt, the second time you're really hurt, the third time you call me up and say, Jack, you know that non-compete agreement you've been talking about?
Sure.
I finally want to do it.
So you're saying do a non-compete. That's one of the things you want to focus on.
That is. There are several techniques for battling against being a competition factory. The bottom line is you owe your employees a lot. You owe them respect. You owe them fair compensation. You owe them good training. You owe them the ability to grow within your organization. But you don't owe them the keys to your business. okay? And so if you don't know them, the keys to your business, here are some techniques. One is non-compete agreements where they're legal. For example, they're not legal in California.
Sure.
Okay? You have to watch out in every case what local law is. In addition, make sure they can't take other employees with you. That'd be a non-solicitation agreement. Make sure they can't solicit your customers as well. That's also a non-solicitation agreement. Build up your brand so customers want to work with you. Nordstrom's not worried when one of their salespeople leaves. Nordstrom's got a great brand. They've built up this real identity with shopping at Nordstrom's, not with shopping with a particular salesperson. There's other things that you can do as well, like having your customers work with teams of your employees. That creates an institutional bond with your business, so you avoid the situation where there's only one representative with your company that they're dealing with, who, if that person were to leave, would disrupt the bond with your company.
We see that in a situation, excuse me, we see that in a situation where we're recruiting from some of the big firms, Wall Street firms.
Yes.
And a lot of them are on teams. And you know, the people we work with are at our end, the recruiting, said, well, if they're on a team, it's hard to take them because it's going to be very difficult for them to bring their accounts over.
That's right, and they do that on purpose. They do that on purpose. And when I'm counseling the company, I'm all for institutionalizing the business with teams.
No, it's practical and it's legal because if it's a solo practitioner and they go over, there's a little reciprocation between the firms where they're allowed to take it over. But if they're part of a team, that reciprocation doesn't exist.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, a lot of things that you're saying are true. It's one of the things I hear about though is a credit crisis. Credit is really tight, and people are saying, well, one of the first things you need to do to build a business is you got to have some money in the bank.
That's right.
How difficult has it been for the people you've been working with to actually get some money together?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. You know, of the four things that I mentioned that are the four keys, the third one is sustainability. Sustainability is your ability to get through the tough times. And 1 out of 3 businesses, as you know, will fail within the first 3 years due to lack of capital. Because most businesses just don't start with enough money. I had one client, great millworking guy. He built a desk for a vice president, a U.S. vice president, and he did a home edition for a U.S. senator. He was that much in demand. He still went out of business because he didn't have enough capital to fund all the various projects that he had. So you have to think of what can I do with less capital. I have 2 what I call savvy substitutes. One is start small. So many people, when they start a business, it's their dream and they jump into it with both feet. I'd rather a successful hot dog stand for 5 years, save your money, and then open the restaurant.
Sure.
Than jump into the restaurant without enough money and close in 6 months because you ran out of money.
Do one thing really well that you have a lot of control over, that you understand, and then build from there.
Exactly right. Start small is one way. Another way is go to a few people who like your services. Let's say you're an architect and there's a few people who really love your services. You're at a big architectural firm, you don't have a non-compete hypothetically, and you go to a few of the people who really love you after you've left, because you can't do competition before you leave legally, and say, listen, I'll provide you with my services at a 25% discount for the next year or 2 if you guarantee you'll use me for the next year or 2. It's a great deal for them because they already like your services, and it covers your overhead, it helps pay your support staff, and maybe puts a little money in your pocket. That idea of guaranteed business, I've seen many people use to carry them through the lean years, and it replaces the chunk of capital you might otherwise need to start your business.
Excellent. Okay, why don't you hold right there?
Certainly.
We'll be right back after this public service announcement. Please stay tuned.